Hello again, Chris Lee and Chase Robinson of Southeastern 16 here to talk Tennessee's defense. When you think Tennessee football, you usually think offense, but this defense has been pretty special so far this year. We're here with some facts and figures and some analysis of what has made the Vols great, a look ahead. But let's start with what is in the books so far, Chase. I'll have you read the litany of impressive defensive rankings that the Vols have nationally.
Yeah, it really is impressive what this defense has been able to do so far. And when you look at some various categories, Tennessee ranks first in total defense, is giving up 3.13 yards per play, just 3 touchdowns. Just really incredible what they've been able to do defensively as a whole. And then you kind of look at kind of separate categories. They rank second in rushing defense, just giving up 1.57 yards per rush, which is really impressive. You look at defense in the red zone. That also is impressive. They're tied for 6th there in red zone defense. You just look up and down all these categories, and there you see Tennessee. And, that's how you know it's a really good defense when you are in the, I think, 6, in these major categories. That may be the lowest that they're at. They're top level in defense when you look up and down these categories. So just really impressive what we've seen, and just the amount of big plays, one, that they've given up, but then how much they're able to contain these teams. And yeah, I think they'll see much tougher offenses as we move through the rest of the year than maybe what they've seen. But still, the defense is just dominating. No matter who you play, they're dominating right now at this point.
Yeah, the numbers through 4 games: Chattanooga, 227 yards allowed, 3.8 per play. That actually was their worst per snap performance. NC State, 143 yards, 2.9 yards per play, and a defensive score, if I remember that one correctly. Kent State, 112 yards, 2.3 per snap. Oklahoma, 222 and 3.3. Now, are these the best offensive teams in the country? No. SP Plus rankings for offense: NC State 68th, Kent State 130th, Oklahoma 52nd, and that's adjusted for opposition. Now, Oklahoma feels a little high to me, but it is what it is. SP Plus has got them 6th on defense overall, probably because it is adjusted for schedule. But anyway, let's talk about what makes the Vols defense great individually. I'm going to ask you a question and pretend you didn't know the answer. But before we get to that, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. It has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. If you were to bet on where James Pearce Jr. would rank on Tennessee's tackle sheet, knowing the numbers so far, what would you think?
At the very top, or close to it.
He's 29th. Spoiler alert. There's some depth here we're going to get into. But if you think you know your stuff, get in on our $200,000 mega contest. Pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance of weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino. Get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. Chase, the saying in the SEC is that it starts on the lines of scrimmage. And I remember having Tony Basilio on before the Oklahoma game, and he talked about how Tennessee's 12 deep on the defensive line. That when you can keep your guys fresh, especially in these September and October games where it is hot, that is really where you start to make up ground. You start making teams make mistakes. But it's not just the defensive line. You look at Tennessee's tackle sheet. They've had 47 guys make tackles so far. Now, Pearce ranks 29th. They've only had, 5 guys in double digits in tackles so far. Assists count as a full tackle. I'm looking at Sports Reference. And that points to depth a lot more places than just the defensive line.
Yeah, and that is that's what makes a strong defense go. And I was listening a little bit to Tennessee defensive coordinator Tim Banks. He was kind of assessing the defense in the bye week, and he was talking about how all the units are working together on defense, and he feels like that's why they've been able to have success that they have, even with some young guys on the field, especially at the defensive back position. They're communicating really well, and the defense as a whole, a collective unit, is working really well together, and that's kind of the product. You're seeing the product of a defense working together, and the defensive line helping the backs, and vice versa. Like they're all working together, and I think this is what we're seeing from that.
I think the question we had about them was the secondary. It's supposed to be the weakest unit on the team, but they've already had a pick 6 this year. McCoy's already got a pick. I mean, sometimes defense can be sort of, I don't know, you can sort of trick the system a little bit with turnovers. They're not an elite team at forcing turnovers. I mean, I guess they have forced 6 in 4 games, so that's pretty good. But my point being, it's not like they're propping this up with like a bunch of pick 6s and, a team fumbling over to them 6 times a game or something like that. They're just doing it by getting stops.
Yeah, they are. And that's, again, you talk about, they'll force some turnovers or whatever, but they just stop you. They stop you from what you're trying to do, especially running the ball. They have a great pass defense as well. But they've been able to just, to get you off the field. And that's what's been a game changer, I think, for Tennessee is they get you off the field. They don't let you hang around and get a few first downs here. They do their job. They get you off the field. They move on. They go score points. That's how it's going for Tennessee so far.
Yeah, I think the key will just be keeping guys healthy. You had Keenan Peely hurt a year ago. He left the game earlier in the year, but again, I point to the depth that they've got. I do want to see how they do and what's ahead, right? It's hard to put on the scale playing Kent State versus playing Alabama. And again, I read off the SP Plus numbers against the teams they played. Unquestionably, their best offenses are ahead of them. SP rankings for the teams Tennessee plays in order: Arkansas 41. I'm a little surprised it's that low. Florida 12. Florida's actually got a pretty underrated offense. I think that the noise of Billy Napier and all that has drowned that out. Alabama, the number 1 offense according to SP Plus. Kentucky 48. I've got some questions about that one, although Kentucky's played some tremendous defenses, and no doubt that has influenced that ranking. Mississippi State 71, Georgia 7, UTEP 132, and Vanderbilt 46. So you're only looking at, the 2 really easy offenses ahead, according to this, are probably Mississippi State and UTEP. And even State is coached by Jeff Lebby, who's an offensive mastermind. They just don't have a lot of talent. But I think we're gonna see more of what the Vols are really made of. And I'm not, look, you can be elite on defense and have played a kind of an underwhelming schedule. Both can be true at the same time. And that's why I'm really interested in their schedule, because this is going to answer that question once and for all by the time Tennessee's done with it.
Yeah, and I think this week against Arkansas, look, you got Taylor Green, you got Quinton Jackson, 2 really strong runners. I think these are the 2 best guys running the ball that they've seen this year, with 2 of them combined. And so, I think they'll be challenged this week a little bit more maybe than they have, but again, this defense just proves week in and week out, no matter who they're playing, they're going to get you off the field. They're going to make the stops they need to be successful.
And just for clarification, I think this is a really good defense. I think it's going to continue to be good. You're going to take your lumps against Alabama or Georgia or somewhere. There's going to be a bad day in there somewhere, because that happens to pretty much everybody in the SEC. But, Josh Heupel, since he's been there, I think the offense has gotten the attention, but the defense has been really solid just about all the time he's been there. So you've seen some bumps in the road, but I feel like this is a program that has really utilized NIL and recruiting and all kinds of things, and have raised, every level of the program across the board, not just offense. And I think that's showing up right now on defense.
It really is. And because when you think about the last couple of years, it's been offense for Tennessee. Like, and they haven't, I think they've lost some games really because they haven't had a good defense, but now they have a good offense, but they also have a good defense. That completely changes the game for Tennessee.
Yeah, I think Tennessee's headed to the playoffs, and I think the defense will be a big reason or big reason for that. All right, we're here to cover SEC football, baseball, basketball year round. Best way to get that, hit the subscribe button. That gets you, it's free. And hit the notifications. That tells you when we made videos. We cover football, baseball, basketball year round. Caroline.smith at Southeastern14.com. If you have advertising inquiries, we do reach millions a year. For Chase Robinson, I'm Chris Lee. You've been watching Southeastern at 16, presented by BetOnline.